Hey, John Strohmeyer with Strohmeyer Law, where we help our clients leave no unfinished business. Now, today we're going to be answering questions about various taxes. If we don't address this, then what we could do is actually set up a situation where we're leaving more avoidable costs to our loved ones. That's one of the four horsemen of the estate planning apocalypse we really want to address. What is the generation skipping transfer tax? Well, the GST tax, generation skipping transfer tax, is the third of the wealth transfer taxes that is imposed by the United States. We start off with the estate tax. What Congress was thinking was, hey, we've got a tax. We're going to tax people who die owning too much stuff. So, what we'll do is we'll look at what you own when you die. We will total it up and run it through a calculation. Whatever's left, that's what you owe tax on. So people after a few years said, "Oh, okay, if they're going to impose tax on what I die owning, then I'm going to just start giving things away before I die so I don't own anything when I die." So they came back about a decade later and imposed the gift tax that said if you give away too much during lifetime, we're going to impose a tax on that. That's the gift tax. These two are now subject to the same unified credit amount. This is the annual or the exemption amount that you've heard about here in 2023. It is $12.92 million per person. To the extent that you use up your exemption for a gift during lifetime, so if you make $1 million gift, you're going to run down that credit at lifetime. And that's also going to reduce what you have available at death. So if you make $1 million gift in 2023, that 1292 comes down to 1192. If you then die in 2023, you only have 11.92 million of exemption left for estate tax purposes. Now, the calculation of this is way more involved than what I just got into because you have to bring back in prior taxable gifts and this and that. So those of you who know how this works know that I'm jumping over a lot of steps. We can do a separate video on how that gets calculated. But for now, just know if you use up the credit during lifetime, then it's going to reduce what you have available at death. Now, when we get to the GST tax, this is the third tax, and it's meant to operate as a backstop against the estate tax and the gift tax. So when somebody makes a gift, they saw, oh well, I could give it to my kids, and then they're going to have to pay estate tax on it. But if I skip a generation and give it down to my grandkids, then we're going to skip tax in my kids' generation. They're not going to have to pay gift tax on it or estate tax on it. It's now the planning opportunity for my grandchildren. This is where the GST tax comes in. When you have made one of these skip gifts, if you've given it to somebody who is your grandchild, then you're going to have the tax imposed. And there are ways to calculate how this is done. But, if it's just a normal family, like I'm giving it to somebody who is my descendant and they are a grandchild or further descendant, great, we know exactly who it is. If it's not a person who you are directly related to, so there are no obvious generations, then we're looking at calculating it based on the number of years between your age and their age to figure out how old they are and what generation they should be assigned to. Well, what happens then is the GST tax is meant to simulate the estate or gift tax that would have been imposed had it been in that intervening skipped generation. So what we're doing is we're simulating the tax that would have been there. So if you give too much, then we're going to a person who's a grandchild or further descendant, they're going to simulate that estate tax. And like the estate and gift tax, you also have a GST exemption. Now, this exemption amount also equal to $12.92 million per person in 2023. It's also adjusted for inflation. Unlike the unified credit amount, where for gift tax and estate tax, the two amounts are connected. So if you make a bunch of gifts during lifetime, then you're going to run down what you have left at your death. GST exemption is connected. It gets implicated once you're making either a gift or you are passing away. So once we are thinking about estate tax, we're also thinking about GST tax. Once we're thinking about gift tax, we're also thinking about GST tax. So it's possible if you may be making a taxable gift and you're also going to have to use some of your GST exemption to avoid not only gift tax, but also avoid the GST tax because you're giving something to your grandkids. So pulling it all together, GST tax, generation skipping transfer tax, it's a backup to the estate and gift tax that simulates the tax that would have been imposed in your children's generation if you had given it directly to them instead of giving it to your grandchildren. Now, remember, while I am a lawyer, I am not your lawyer. So don't take the advice of some talking head on the internet. Make sure you talk to your own legal counsel about your specific circumstances. We're only dealing with generic advice right now. Also, want to mention my firm offers a free 5-day estate planning starter kit. So you can start the process of planning your own estate with a quick set of daily email challenges that'll help get you in the right frame of mind to identify the questions you really need to be answering. You'll be spending about 5 to 10 minutes every day for 5 days answering these questions and putting you on the road to leaving no unfinished business. The link to start this 5-day challenge is in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. If you've got other questions about this, go ahead and leave a question in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.